Welcome to the Property Corner with myself, Rowan Alexander. Welcome back to another episode of the Property Corner. In this week's episode, I'm going to be sharing a story of a recent trip I had to Johannesburg. I was invited by ABSA to be part of a panel discussion where we discussed the power of social media and how to build your brand on social media. It was pretty special. We were set up in the 80 million rand penthouse for sale in the Munyaka development in Waterfall. Our panel consisted of 5 speakers. Tebogo Tekeso, better known as Proverb. He's the host of The Property Game, a TV show that's run on the Home Channel. Marius Greef, specialist on LinkedIn. Amber Hayward, she's the head of Baldwin's Property Sales and Marketing, as well as Bradley Edwards from Flume Marketing Agency.
Can you take us a little bit through your journey, your thinking? You also have certain niches, and you've chosen to differentiate yourself in that space. I think it would just be interesting to get that high-level summary of where you started and how you got to where you are now. So that the colleagues and all of us can sort of relate to that story.
Okay, cool. Thanks. I think maybe just to give that some context, we had a chat maybe beforehand, which I think maybe triggered some of the questions. But so quick story about myself. 2011, finished up at varsity, walked into this property industry where, it was in a dismal state. It had just been after the recession, looking for work, been at university, thinking we're going to be the next Baldwin Properties developers, walking out, making jokes about learning to become an estate agent. That's what I am today. An estate agent, primarily own it, claim it, enjoy it, okay? Started off with the Rawson Property Group, spent time there until about 2017, and in 2017 went independent. Now, that's the story that I'm getting to tell now. But the power of social media put me here. And that's probably the best story to take out of today. Because I was contacted to form part of this discussion, to speak to you guys, with no one knowing the backstory. I was trusted on the platforms that I was viewed by the information that I was giving unconditionally. I was giving good advice unconditionally to an open market, not expecting anything back. That put me at a level of authority that's built trust. Now that I have trust, my story matters. If I didn't have that trust, my story wouldn't matter. Now I can back that up. I can tell you that I was the top agent in the country. I've sold 2,500 properties, 3.8 billion rand, as I'm sitting here. But now my story matters even more. And that's the value. You need to really, really, really go out, build trust, add value unconditionally. Then people will become curious. Proverb said it earlier. He didn't know about certain things. He got to learn it along the way. That made him curious. How can he get engaged more? What can he do differently? By educating people, you make them curious. I've never sold the product on any of our social channels. We've never pushed it. We're now at the point where Dylan's had to say to me, Rowan, you need to start putting product out there because people are requesting it. They're sending us messages. What do I do here? What do I do there? And so I think that maybe tells a little bit of the story, but the strategy behind has always been to code switch, to speak, to get your hook on a certain short reel, but be able to really get to the guy that wants to know your story via the podcast. So there's been a lot of strategy, and we didn't know. We started off, and that's the other message, just get started. Your audience will teach you. And you need to react to them. Yeah. I'm a boykie from Brackenfell with a business with one office with 80,000 followers. It's insignificant, but we've done that in 16 months because we have listened to what people are wanting to hear and offer them unconditional advice in that way. So if that maybe answers.
That is so inspiring.
One of the questions that came up for discussion was how you actually grow your social media account and maybe how we have grown our social media account. My story, just a little bit of that to give you some perspective, has been to add value. That's how we've grown what we have on our social platforms. So you also need to be mindful of where you can add value, what language you're speaking, who you're speaking to, what your position is, and choose the appropriate platform. If you can add value to your immediate network, do that via your personal space. But if that's not your market, if you're looking to add value beyond that, you might need to break away from that. That is that level of comfort. That's where you're going to get your cheerleaders. That's where you're going to get your support. So we all want to be there. You know, you want that and you want to use that to set you in a good light. But you also need to venture beyond that and say, well, they can only do so much. My plans are bigger than this. I want to go further than that. And for that, you might need to step into a different platform. You might need to create a different page. You might need to go do things that you weren't comfortable doing before. One of the other things that came up for discussion was the fear of rejection and putting yourself out there in that public realm, how you overcome that fear to take that step to build your social media following. That's something which took me a while to understand, and also my staff, is because you become scared. You know, you're putting yourself out there, you're putting yourself in the public realm, you're open to being criticized. But the confidence should come from you are a leader in that relationship. If someone didn't want that information, if they knew how to do these things, they wouldn't be reaching out to you. So that acknowledgement of I am a leader in the situation, whether it be how to complete the documentation, what link to follow, the more complex discussions about product type, you're leading that relationship. So put yourself out there, claim it, be that authority, take that leadership, take that ownership, and people will follow because they are looking for it. They are looking for it. That's why they have been in contact. And if they haven't been looking for it, they've become curious when they become aware, and then they start looking for it. So you need to take that position of leadership, leading that relationship in every single aspect. The small things, from helping them along the way to explaining the more complex and technical things at the end of the line. So thank you to ABSA, who gave me that opportunity to form part of that panel and have that discussion. Even just being there was really valuable to myself. I learned a lot too, even though I was part of the panel that was supposed to provide. I also received a lot of good information. So thank you to ABSA. Thank you for all the organizers, On Point PR, who reached out, and thank you very much for that opportunity. And then likewise, thank you to you, the audience, that has been following, engaging, subscribing. Thanks for that. Please continue to do that. That will allow our channel to do more of these sort of things, add more value to you. So thank you. If you haven't yet subscribed to one of our podcast platforms, do that, and you'll always stay up to date with what we're doing at the Property Corner with myself, Rowan Alexander.